Hello everybody, welcome to a Season 13 Battlegrounds meta prep video. Hope you're doing well. Lots to cover in this particular video, lots of very interesting things, and these are recommendations. We're going to be talking about some defense and attack based options. And look, this particular season that we've got coming up, it's all about science-based champions that have Petrify, Innovate, Wither or Suppression effects, and our science champions gain 20-second Fury passives, increasing attack rating by 10% by each time the defender would gain power, but is under these particular effects. If you've got champions that are science champions, it's easy to access that. That is going to be fantastic. Fantastic, huh? Mr. Fantastic actually does two of those effects at the start of the battle, which is great. And then same thing with Titania, basically. Some other champions, easy to rotate around and get those. So happy days. So, what would be something to worry about? Well, the defender elements, which is any buff activated by the attacker has a 20% chance to be nullified. Giving the defender a burst of 20% power every 2 seconds. Regenerate buffs have triple the chance to be pilfered. I would say that when you do dexterity, you're going to trigger off a buff regardless, so it is going to come part and parcel. There will be other elements to counter this, like if you've got buff immune champion options, that can be really, really effective. Titania be an option. Spider-Man 2099 being an option. That champion has, the last one I mentioned, has Wither as part of his kit. So there's really interesting stuff like that. There's also every 12 seconds the defender gains a regeneration buff, restoring 10% of the max health. If the attack is far away from the defender, when it triggers, the attacker gains regeneration instead. That's heal or hide. Now, you can choose to play around this from an attacking sense of having a heal block option, because you could just continue to be aggressive. In the victory track, building through that is actually going to be better because you could use the likes of Archangel. You could use any heal blocker, which we're going to go over in this video as well. Also, something that would be interesting to note is nullify immunity champions could be key for focused nullify regeneration. If you are immune or your nullification immune, it could be the likes of Gallon, it could be the likes of Adam Warlock, basically not triggering off this part of focused nullify regeneration. Again, we'll talk about some of this stuff in a moment. Let's bring up a spreadsheet. I've put a link in the description to this one. I've kind of put what I've just said there in that moment in the top part of the header, but let's look at some really kind of cool attacking options. Now, you've got tons of attacking options. We'll talk about defense in a minute. I don't actually think defense is going to play much of a element to this one. What the heck do I mean by that? I think annoying defenders are going to be the meta defenders. There will be certain champions like, well, champions that get more regeneration than normal, more of a pest to deal with, champions that will encourage you to rotate around them. You know, your Shuris, your Atumas, your whatever. They're going to be just generally annoying. Just generally annoying champions are generally annoying on defense. So bringing in counters specific to that, again, it's going to be difficult because at the end of the day, you're just best off using science-based champions to attack. In theory, of course, it's going to be a case of going, right, well, if a skill champion is the defender, then chances are you probably won't use that. But, you know, stranger things have happened. And then it's a case of using buff immune champions, which face it, a lot of those are science. But also maybe nullify immune champions may be the way to go, or heal block immune champions could be the way to go with it. In any case, I digress. Science-based champions that will get the Fury passive. Tons. You've got Mr. Fantastic, which covers the two, as we said. Photon does say in its kit that she covers both. Scorpion covers both. Sandman covers both the suppression and petrify, so in theory that would work. Of course, Titania covers Wither, suppression, and also petrify. I don't think she does innovate, but there's only really two champion options I can find at the moment which do innovate, which is Spider-Gwen and Hulk Ragnarok. So again, it's down to you on that. A lot of people that spend in the game would probably have themselves a Morbius, and of course one of my personal recommendations and a champion that I really love is Immortal Abomination. That could be a great option. Don't underestimate a Joe Fixit, because he can fix it in this particular element for you. And the same thing when it comes to Anti-Venom and She-Hulk, of course, with that SP2. So there's a lot of options to kind of like benefit. I do recommend Spider-Man 2099 if you have the champion. Buff immunity, of course. Now, I did say briefly about some other kind of like options. Apologies, I'm not able to kind of like do a full kind of infographic for this. It's just time. Like, I'm recording this now. It's nearly 9 p.m. UK time. I wanted to be live streaming 50 minutes ago for a birthday live stream. Unfortunately, it's a case of like, I really want to get this video done because I think there's great interest for the community to see it. So yeah, that's the kind of reason why. And this will be uploaded on Tuesday. So, and I'm working on Tuesday. So it's like, look, it is what it is. You know, I do this with a smile on my face. I love making these videos. I'd love to kind of spend time with infographics. And of course, next year when M comes on board with the channel more, depending on if it's able to grow, then of course we'll be able to do more and do more infographics and stuff like that. So happy days. But buff nullify immune champions. So don't underestimate an attack using the likes of Silver Warrior, Crossbones, Gallon, Gladiator, Hulk, Iron Man, OG, Mangog, Mr. Negative, Mordo, Omega Sentinel. I actually think Omega Sentinel is going to be fantastic because you can heal block set up and she's going to cover the basis of that. So it's great. So she'll be able to deal with a few problems that comes your way. And Thing. So those could be some alright attacking options. Also heal block. If the enemy is going to get regeneration, then you want to be able to heal block. Now, if they've got like debuff shrug, then of course that's not going to be great. There are some passive options in this one, so do bear in mind that. Elsa Bloodstone's one for Suicide Mastery users, because whilst you're degened, apparently, according to some sources, is that she's able to heal block. Obviously, you know, take it with a pinch of salt. Mysterio, Omega Sentinel we said about. Awakened Penny Parker could be a good option. Psycho Man, Sentinel, The Visions, Viv Vision, Warlock. Warlock could be a very good option for heal blocking. So again, it's just down to like how you feel you want to take on the particular champion. Do bear in mind as well, there's going to be just a tier list for defenders, just general ones that are going to be effective for use. And what will that look like? Well, again, it's difficult to say because there's so many different kind of like options that you could use. You know, this is, yeah, just like, it's just a case of like, oh, well, I could throw on Bishop, I could throw on Rintrah. That could be just general annoying defenders, Mojos, Spots, you know, Weapon X's, you name it. There's always the usual suspects that are frustrating. Ant-Man, future Ant-Man there is, America Chavez, Baron Zemo, Overseer, my own personal King Groot, Kingpin. You know, the list goes on. If there's an annoying defender, if it annoys you, then it's probably like that particular one to look out for. I would also stress that with the new 6-star feature dropping in next week, expect to see a lot more Kindreds, Photons in the particular. I think Kindred's in. Is Kindred in this one? No, he's not. I think he's in the next one. Expect to see a lot of frustrating options. So yeah, Kindreds and Photons in that crystal. I actually don't know if Morbius is in that crystal. If it is, then again, that could be a little bit annoying if you're seeing a lot of them ranked up, especially for the purpose of defense. So we shall see if that is if that's the case. Don't write it off as an option. When you get into Gladiator Circuit, depending on when you do and how you do, there could be some slight changes. I'd say weeks 1 and 2 isn't that much of difference from what's in the victory track. The defender is immune to ability accuracy reduction passives and debuffs. So I suppose in some ways you might need to see what works and what doesn't. What Force of Will does to your champions. Would that be a case that's going to skew off some of the science champions of Cerebral Control? I always think that it's kind of like, well, give it a try. Like, give it a try, see what works, what doesn't, and then kind of like throw out some of the options that are presented, you know, that we've just looked at from that infographic and go, okay, well, this worked, this didn't work. Do I need to have champions that are immune to ability accuracy, not ability accuracy reduction, but look at a different way to approach it when it comes to the fight? Again, that's something down to kind of like trial and error. When you get into weeks 3 and 4, I think this is when things get a little bit more spicy because you've got stuff like Buffet over time, which is when the attacker triggers a buff, it is immediately nullified, giving that... is that the same thing? No, it's not. Is it? I thought it was the same. Yeah, so triggers nullified and defender gains a regeneration buff, granting 10% of their max health over 7 seconds, and then powerful from afar. Each time the defender leaves a striking distance, the defender gains a power gain buff. So it depends on how you want to take this down. Doctor Doom basically will, swap out that, he'll get a power gain buff himself. Do you need power control? And that's the thing at that point to kind of like discuss what, or feel like what's actually going wrong, going right, stuff like that. So power control, stagger champions could be an option. I wouldn't rule out the heal block options, which we talked about a moment ago. So yeah, there's going to be some fun options, fun changes and alterations, and it really does depend what is annoying. If the power gain buff's annoying, if the regeneration buff's annoying, if those two buffs are annoying, nullify them, stagger them. But at the same time, do bear in mind, if people then throw into defense, they could be throwing in stagger immune, nullify immune champion options, then could be really annoying defenders, because if you're looking to suppress that which they are getting in defense, then they've countered that. So always think about how someone's going to counter you. It's like countering the counter. It's really annoying, but at the end of the day, you have to really look at, as I said, what's annoying, what's going well. I'll put a link in the description to this spreadsheet if you're interested. I didn't want to make a long-ended video on this one, so hope you enjoy. Hope you understood some of the stuff that we're talking about, and look out for that extra energy resistance 90%. But as you said, when you're coming into Gladiator Circuit in weeks 3 and 4, the enemy's gaining buffs. Do you nullify them? Do you stagger them? Or won't you be able to, because the champion in defense is nullify immune? And as well, do you have to think about power controlling? Those are two things that I want you to think about going into weeks 3 and 4 of the Gladiator Circuit. And that's been a video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. Check out some other content located on screen right now. And I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.